I love the voice. I find it just so miraculous that this little thing that's like the size of a walnut and the width of our thumbnail can do so much. Can yell, can cry, can scream in agony, can do voices, accents, dialects, can just do a plethora of things and then can go away when our body is in distress. And it's just like, let's help it.
Filmmaker Magazine presents Back to One with Peter Rinaldi.
This is a special episode of Back to One. I sat down with vocal health coach Neda Lahidji to talk about one of the most important and yet one of the most oddly neglected aspects of acting, which is vocal health. Enjoy.
So I'm just going to give you a couple tools. They're easy tools. Like, it's not like, it has to be for a singer. It's for any vocal athlete, like even people in tech or if they're a fitness instructor or anything like that.
Right.
Lip trills. It's an incredible, scientifically, it's like the semi-occluded vocal tract posture is one of these tools that we use. And it is a lifesaver for when you're feeling fatigued or when your voice is, drop back and down, your breath, you're not on your breath. And you're just kind of talking from like a vocal fry, which is ironic because a vocal fry is an excellent tool to use when you're kind of fatigued.
Interesting.
But we do live in a vocal fry because we're just, lazy and, we're just so chill. And then all of a sudden realize, oh God, I have to adjust the sound energy forward. So like you can tell that shift that just happened, that transition. So, all right, so I'm going to demonstrate.
Okay.
So you're just going to go unvoiced, so no pitch, but okay. So just take it's all good. It's all good. I'm going to
Wait, let me try that one more time.
Yeah. There we go. So like right now I saw you adjusted your posture. You aligned yourself a bit better because this whole thing.
Very perceptive.
Yes. This whole thing, I can't force people to want to do it, right? It's either like they're interested, they will. They know that some things are off. They don't care. Cool. Do you. No judgment whatsoever. It's just if people care and want to know. It's literally like they don't know what they don't know. And once they know, if they want to, it's like, where have I been without this?
Right. You're talking about what you call vocal athletes, who most of them do not understand how they are kind of abusing their voice or not taking care of their voice. Whereas an athlete finds out very fast when they're not taking care of their body because they literally will not be able to perform. They can hurt themselves. People are hurting their voice and they're not realizing what they did. They're not informing themselves, right? About how to not let that happen again. So it's almost like you're dealing with people who are really using their voice so much, but they're in the dark about a lot of this stuff all the time, right?
Absolutely. Because, as a human being, we are, I wrote this quote down because I just found it so fascinating where C.S. Lewis, he says, you don't have a soul. You are a soul. You have a body.
Oh, yes.
Deep, right? Like that just hits you, right?
Yeah.
So we are made up in a 3D way where it's the bio, psycho, and social. So we have to take care of our minds. We cannot neglect the mental health of our voice because like as actors, oh my God, we're very sensitive people. Some are more than others. Like I'm a very sensitive person. And so then we also have to take care of our body. Like our larynx is part of our body, but our voice is our soul. It's connected with us. That's how I think of it. And you have to take care of that. And people tend to, when quote shit hits the fan, that's when they're like, oh my God, I need to take care of my voice. Oh my God, I need, there's so many people who come to me where they have an audition the next day or they're crying to me on the phone and they're freaking out. And of course I help them. I take care of them. I make sure that they're like in a great groove for their audition. Like, I never leave a session without making sure that they're good to go, because then I haven't done my job. And also there's that empathy there of like, I get it. I totally get it. However, I try to implement like preventative vocal care. Like, you have to I do like voice habilitation, that preventative work of, hey, you are a vocal athlete. You should, as a regular athlete, right? They go to the gym every day. They do their stretches. They have physical therapy. They make sure they get good sleep. They make sure what they're eating is great. They're feeding themselves good food. Also, they're feeding their minds good things. But like everything I just said is what a vocal athlete should do, is what an artist should do anyway. And we do that. And it's a choice. Some people literally don't care. And that's fine too. It's like, again, I'm not going to force this, because you have to want it for yourself. It's kind of like, I can't change you. I can't fix you. There's no such thing. You have to do it yourself. I can only show you what you haven't been introduced to, or what you've been missing, and you don't know that you've been missing.
Right.
So it's all connected. And like Leontine Price told Renee Fleming once, there's this book I read called The Inner Voice back in high school. And she said to her that it's funny the way people talk about the voice as if it's a separate entity, like it's another being separate from us. It's not. Especially people who are very sensitive, like their stress factors manifest in their voice. Mm-hmm. Hi, I'm one of them. I'm so one of them. And I've experienced it for myself. Like, when you get anxiety, what's the first thing to go away? Your voice.
Right.
For me, one, I lose my appetite. Two, my voice goes away. Like, in terms of goes away, like there's so much subglottal pressure. So basically tension is strained. It's in a vocal fry. I can't shake it off. So I have to go do my tools to work through it.
Mm-hmm. What was that thing that you just had me do? What was that helping?
So that's a lip trill, a semi-occluded vocal tract posture tool. It's like an SOVTP. And you use it to help move air and move the voice. Because you could do it unvoiced and then voiced.
What does that mean, unvoiced?
So unvoiced would be...
Well, we did, yeah.
And then voice would be... And so what you're doing is you're moving air.
I hear singers do this all the time, yes.
But yes, we hear singers do that.
The voiced one, yes.
However, when I hear singers or actors do that, like if they're in an interview and they're just like demonstrating something, they're just doing it in the moment. They're not really, I know that they're just doing it without being mindful. But sometimes how you set it up is very important. Ooh. So you can do a lip trill, and it could be pressed phonation versus flow phonation. So pressed, tension. There's more tension than air moving through the vocal tract, or flow, air is moving. So if I do pressed, it's like, if I do with more airflow, you hear that turbulence, right?
Yes.
So how you set it up manifests how you're going to sound versus speaking or singing.
Why would you choose one over the other?
Because if you're coming from a place of pressed phonation, chances are you're going to still speak from a pressed place. Same with singing. Because muscle memory, kind of like something as simple as if you're lip syncing, you have to be careful because there will be inaccurate muscle memory forming. Mm-hmm. Like for me, when I was in lockdown, I was in an apartment. I was by myself for 9 months, and I'm somebody that doesn't like conflict. So I was like, I don't want to get a noise complaint. I don't want to deal with it. So I'm not going to sing full out. And because I know what I know, I'm like, this is going to affect me. I know it is. And I'm going to work through it when that time comes. I can't. So I was not singing full out. And I was forming a certain type of muscle memory that is inaccurate.
Ooh.
And
you knew this was going to happen.
And I knew this was going to happen. I'm like, I'm going to go through, like, I'm going to work it through, like, mental health. I'm going to cry it out. I'm going to feel it. And I'm going to deal with it when that time comes. And it's funny, like, I'm okay right now. But in the long run, and that was 2020, right? So I'm now almost at the end of working through it.
Wow.
So there's that. It's hard. It's hard. And I had to use my voice in a different way with like writing or just, teaching others via Zoom. And because I was like, I'd rather not sing and build inaccurate muscle memory. And like my body, my life has been a discipline. I've been training since I was a kid. So my body knows, like, all that training, all those like decades of training is greater than this blip of time.
Yeah.
But still I'm human and my body's going to get used to it. So I was like, I'd rather just not. I'd rather listen to old voice lessons and just, sit on my couch and meditate on that and just practice visualization, because the mind is so powerful. And I remember when I was living in New York, there was like 2 weeks where I didn't practice because of where I was staying. And I go to my voice lesson and my teacher's like, oh my God, Neda, you've practiced. Like this is like night. Like I see a difference. I hear a difference. And I told him, I'm like, whoa. So I actually didn't, but I listened to our voice recordings backwards and forwards on the train, walking around like crazy. And he was like, the power of the mind.
Wow. So wait, you're aware of these things in yourself. You're aware of the power of the mind. You're aware of all of this. And you still face ramifications for doing certain things. Most of everyone else doesn't understand this stuff. So the people coming to you, they must be riddled with habits, with muscle memory issues that they don't even know about, right? That you have to untangle all of these weeds.
Yes. And I always come from a place of compassion, understanding, empathy. And it's not a one size fits all type of thing. Like if you come to me, you're consistently coughing. Let's just say that. So one could be maybe you just had a cold. One could be acid reflux, like a symptom of acid reflux, excessive coughing. And now because of the times, like it could be the whole, what's it called?
COVID.
Like long COVID. Right. So we're just adding like another thing. So I'm always like, here's a box of possibilities. I'm never going to assume. I'm going to guess, and then we're going to have a conversation and figure out what is it for you. Because nothing pisses me off more is having false assumptions and just being like, oh, it must be this. Like the way I was trained was, hey, it could be this, or these two things. Because then if you're coming from a place of like, oh, it's this, it's egotistical. And then it's not even about them, it's about me. And I am not that person. So I just felt myself tense up. Yeah, I can't be that person. So I really love, my mentors. But a lot of people, they don't know what they don't know. And it's very personal. It kind of feels like therapy in a way. And by no means am I a licensed therapist, but I know what it's like when I take voice lessons. It absolutely is therapy. Mm-hmm. Because you're taking care of your soul. You're taking care of your mind, body, and soul, and your voice.
Yeah. Well, see so I really came face to face with a real big problem that I have when I was suddenly cast in this theatrical play. It was an event more than a play, with only a couple days of rehearsal and one performance. And it was the equivalent, I imagine, if we want to make an analogy, of somebody that has never lifted weights suddenly handed a 300-pound dumbbell or something. Mm-hmm. And so there I was trying to lift that. And what I found what was happening was that everyone was saying, we can't hear you. And I just began yelling, like literally yelling. And it still wasn't heard in the audience. And I was like, how could this be? Like, I don't even understand what I'm doing wrong. I don't even understand how my screaming, because that's how much they were telling me you can't be heard. So I was screaming. So I don't know where my air was coming from. I didn't understand anything about my breath work. And this was a like almost like a giant disaster. But many other people were also going through this. So what this was a display of people that are used to mumbling in film with a microphone right next to you, suddenly on a stage. And that's why I'm saying, like, somebody's handing you a 200-pound dumbbell when you haven't lifted weights. And so we were all kind of realizing, but I felt like I was taking the brunt of this realization of just how inexperienced we were with vocal work, breath work, projecting. Mm-hmm. There are people that are listening to this that are film people that think maybe that they are not vocal athletes like a theatrical performer would be. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to assume that you're going to say that they are wrong.
Yeah.
Yep.
And again, because they don't know what they don't know. Like, that should be like a mantra. And it's not a bad thing. It's just, it is what it is. Like, it's okay.
Right.
Just now what? Like, do you want to learn?
Exactly.
Do you want to explore? Let's have some fun.
That's where I am. I was just like, wow. Now I know what I don't know, at least. I don't know it, but I know that I don't know it.
And that's awareness. That's like
that's the first step of awareness, right? Mm-hmm. So what would you do with somebody like that?
One quote that comes to mind, again, is, I don't know why I'm like remembering all this, Renee Fleming's words, but she said, I believe muscles tense up to match one's own inner and mental tension.
That's what was going on with me, for sure.
Yeah. So I was like, you said that, I'm like, I've got to tell you this quote because it's so true. And reading that back in high school and now knowing what I know and doing the work is like, oh my God, it's like now I'm living or I'm observing these experiences for myself and others. For actors on set, you can't control the long hours. Like so when you sleep, for example, if you get less than 7 hours of sleep, you're living on the wear and tear of yesterday's voice. All right, so that's not going to fly with actors on set because they have like 12-hour, 14-hour, even maybe longer days, right? And who knows if they're waiting around, and the waiting around can be anxiety-inducing, exhausting, just to like be ready and like dying to like go and do the thing. So my job is, okay, here's a scenario or an environment that is beyond your control. So how can you help your circumstance? You're not going to get 7 hours of sleep. You're going to get maybe 2 or 3. So then what can you do during the day or during that time on set to help your voice and your mind and your body in the best way to serve the work you're about to do? Yeah, so that's what I would do. And I would give them, we talk about, for me, it's like, all right, so how's your sleep? How's your allergies? What do you eat? I kind of make them a full-rounded vocal athlete. I want them to be a full-rounded vocal athlete.
So there are things to eat that would help your vocal athletics.
Well, yes, but now I really know that it's, again, like not a one-size-fits-all type of thing. Mm-hmm. The typical things are like, don't have coffee right before. Some people, they need it. It gives them energy. Fine. But drink a glass of water.
With it.
You're going to hear my straw in the audio. Yeah. But drink some water to balance that. We want, if you're going to dehydrate yourself, okay, then follow up with hydrating yourself. It's not a one size fits all. It's, hey, specific, hey, you, Peter, what is things that affect your voice, affect your body? It's you. It's not I don't care about the general things. They can apply to you, but...
Well, here's what's funny. When we sat down together, I said, I bet you listen to my podcast and are cringing at the way I'm using my voice, and you didn't answer right away. You kind of blushed. You did something that made me know that was true. And you never told me, you never told me what I'm doing. But I at least know some things, like when I do my announcements or whatever, when I do an ad or something like that I have to really have a posture. I have to really have my chest straight. I have to be, because that I can hear that affecting my voice when I'm slunched down, when the mic is moved in a certain way. So those are minimal things. But in terms of not knowing, I still don't know, like how much better I could be doing things, and especially with breath work. I find myself out of breath so much. I find myself when I'm talking, I'm not pushing that right, but it's still embarrassing that I don't know how to make certain things better, and it could be affecting listeners and I don't even know it.
Again, it's like, it doesn't have to be, for the work that you do, it doesn't have to be this long singer's warm-up. In terms of breath work, there's a way to breathe as a theater actor, as a film actor, and as a singer. And then dancers have a different type of breath, because I've worked with different types of vocal athletes, and I'm like, wow. So I basically, with some people, it's like, I'm not going to change your ways or confuse you. We're going to fine tune some things. It's like this different language with each person. And it's kind of like when actors become directors and they're directing their actors, it's like this extra layer of language, of familial language. It's like, here, we're at home. We're at home, like home sweet home, because of this extra language.
Yes, I see what you're saying.
Right?
Yes.
For you, lip trills, a raspberry, which I'll show you eventually, and straw phonation. It's
very interesting to me that you're saying straw phonation as if you think I know what you're talking about.
Right. Okay, so if I do regroup.
What are you talking about?
We're gonna start fresh with the straw phonation thing. So this is straw phonation. Now you're gonna have a difference you're gonna feel a difference with how much of the straw you put in the water versus not, versus at the tip of the water, making like a little puddle, and how fast you blow the bubbles, how slow you blow the bubbles. And I mean, it helps with vocal fatigue. There was one day where I was subbing, this is like years ago, I was subbing for a teacher, and her schedule was insane. Like I practice vocal pacing and vocal naps. So like there's vocal pacing, vocal rest, vocal naps. That's a whole, that's a whole thing to talk about. But I need to, because I get overexcited. I definitely overuse from that excitement. I have to always check in, because again, I'm human, right? She taught 8 hours straight. And I'm like, what am I? Oh my God. And like by hour 5, I was like, I am dying. And so I had like 10 minutes to straw phonate. Because the first couple of hours, each 10-minute break I had, I would just be on vocal rest, and that wasn't helping. I'm like, I've got to do a tool. And did straw phonation, I was reset. Then I did the last 3 hours.
So
easy.
That's a good thing to do when you don't have time.
When you don't have time.
But you need to literally do what would be the equivalent of a vocal rest, is what you're saying, almost. Yeah.
So, I always think about, for example, if a singer, let's just say they're doing 8 shows a week. No, let's make the example an actor. So an actor is doing a play.
And it's like Angels in America. It's like 4 hours.
Let's go there. Let's do Angels in America. And they can be on vocal rest all day. And then sort of start talking and warming up before the show. Now, that could be a good idea. Again, you have to listen to your body. But you kind of want to speak throughout the day, so you're not going cold an hour or 2 before you go on. You want to do like vocal naps or vocal pacing. So, meaning you're assessing internal and external factors what if you're in previews? In previews, you're not only doing the show, you are rehearsing.
Right.
You're probably doing a speed through, and then you go and do the show.
Yeah.
And so it's so much talking. It's just like, you got to make sure you're doing some vocal warm up. And then you have, film actors who are, some of them are theater trained, some of them are not. And I have seen actors who are just film actors, and I see a play and I'm like, oh my God, their voice, they have laryngitis right now, or they're just vocally strained, or like I hear things and I'm like, is somebody taking care of them? And what's happening? I'm so like, I'm worried in the audience. Like, are they going to last? And I find it fascinating, when you grow up and you're like, you look back and you're like, why was I obsessed with the things I was obsessed with? And you hope, or you're like, oh, well, there's the reason. Now I know. Like, it's like a full circle. Like, for me, I love watching movies. I love when an actor moves me. I want to get to know them. How can I get to know them, quote unquote? Okay, interviews. Even though when you're being interviewed, you are putting on a version of you for an interview and you hope it's truthful and like you're vulnerable and all that. But you get like an idea. I watched so many interviews growing up, and now cut to what I do now. I'm like, oh, there's a reason. Because like even during COVID, like I had all these hours, I would just be watching and listening. And if I'm watching, I'm like, oh, they picked up their coffee. They barely drank water. Cool. I also don't know that like if in other like interviews that I haven't seen, they probably drink so much water. So again, I'm not going to make a full assumption. These are possibilities. It's just fascinating that like I pick on that, or like if I see the same press tour and an actor's wearing two different outfits, I'm like, okay, great. So different day. This day they're more resonant when they're speaking. They're more on their sound, their voice. Wow, they're exhausted. Is so back and down. And again, travel, dry air, different atmosphere, different, also like, you haven't seen your cast for a hot minute. You're gonna wanna, maybe FOMO is happening a little bit. Like, I get it. And you want to go out. So when you go out, are you gonna just drink water all night? Maybe some people would, but you're gonna drink. And then when you drink in a loud space, you tend to talk loud. Vocal strain. All these things. And then you maybe not sleep because of jet lag. And then the next day you have to go do press all day. And the same questions emotionally can subconsciously exhaust you. Because it's like, okay, can I have a different question that's like, that just excites me, not the same thing, which is nobody's fault. It's just, again, it is what it is. So here I am just sitting and like thinking of these things. And again, I can't force somebody to care, but it's like, I know there are a handful out there that probably do care.
Well, they should care too, though. That's the thing. I mean, and you're making it sound like you can actually put together a bunch of these interviews in an order where you think that it happened based on what you're hearing in their strain, vocal strain, or effects of these things. That's interesting. But are there things that people think work that don't work as well as they think they do, that they do for their voice? Like, is over-watering a problem?
Yeah, no, I mean, I've definitely drank so much water where I feel like I'm too full now. And then you have these internal burps. Like, too much of anything is not good, right? Like, there should be a balance. I think, people think, oh, if I drink tea, it's going to soothe my vocal cords. But, like, nothing gets back there. Otherwise, you'll choke, right? So it's like, it's soothing the tissues around it. And that's what's really happening. But too much of anything, like, I remember I would, during competitions growing up, like, I got the experience where I drank too much tea and then eternal bursts would happen. I'm like, if I take a nice, good breath before I sing, what's going to happen? Okay, so we're going to back off the tea and trust that the body is ready. So I think trust has a lot to do with knowing the balance for yourself. when you don't trust yourself, that's where it's like, ah, crap. Like I should have trusted, but I mean, too much warming up or too much prepping, you can exhaust yourself. Too much of that. I remember this happened to me and I never did it again. I sang on Christmas Eve years ago in Monterey at a little church. I'm not religious, but I love Christmas music. I love going to, my favorite time of the year. And if I could sing Christmas songs, absolutely. So I sang Oh Holy Night. I rehearsed with the pianist backstage, and it was like it was in a perfect groove. And I hesitate when I use the word perfect but it was like in a very great groove for me. And I was like, okay, one more time. Cause it was like, what if I mess up? Like, I want to feel comfortable. I overdid it. I over practiced. And so when I went on stage, backstage was better. Not that I cracked but I felt tired.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I should have trusted myself. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I should have because I would have taken that take backstage over the one that just happened. And then I'm like, well, then what was the point? The point was to enjoy being on stage and I don't want to feel that way as a singer. I don't want to put that stress on my body. I don't like that. This is not what this is about. So over practicing, overthinking, be in your head. I think trust is the biggest thing, is to look deep within yourself, do the inner work of I know me, I know myself, I got this. Positive affirmations really help. I do that with a lot of my clients of they come in and they're, anxious or they're emotional. I'm like, all right, this is a safe space. Let it out. Because you're not going to be able to sing if you don't get whatever it is stuck in there out.
So this is really the mental side of this is huge. So,
yes.
Which might be hard for people to really take in. If you're having, if you're bumping up against the wall and you're thinking you're doing everything right for your mm-hmm. voice, but you have some mental things that are still going on, nerves or other kinds of things like you're saying, that need to come out, that might be the final thing that's going to help everything, right?
Yeah. I mean, I hear it in interviews, when I hear an actor talk about and again, it's coming from a place of passion, or they're just anxious. You hear, it's all this stress is just crunching down on these nerves or these muscles, and it has to just release. For me, I'm a very emotional, sensitive person, and there are many of us who are from the same emotional cloth. Mm-hmm. If you don't let it out, eventually you're going to have to come face to face with it. Mm. And again, I don't say you have to deal with it, because dealing with it and getting over it to me are two harsh things I just don't like that. It's just very cruel. So eventually you're going to have to meet up with it and hold his hand and work through fear, mm-hmm. anxiety. Hey, let's invite it in. Let's be friends and let's help each other. Let's help this emotion, let's help it. It's an energy, right? Fear is an energy. Anxiety is an energy. Let's turn it into good and make magic happen with the thing we love doing. Voice and trauma are a thing. They go hand in hand. Mm-hmm. I had an SLP do an SLP colleague a speech language pathologist.
Tell us again what SLP.
Yeah.
Speech language pathologist.
Yeah, so a speech language pathologist colleague gave a presentation on voice and trauma, and it was just such an important topic to discuss. For me, I have a high functioning larynx, I'm a high functioning singer, but sometimes because how my stress factors manifest in my throat is tight sometimes. And then you're like, how am I still singing? So imagine how I can sound when it's all relaxed, right? So And trauma, you know, again, it's like if your stress factors manifest in your throat, whether there's a conflict with a relationship or whatever the factor, whatever it is going to manifest in your throat. Some people manifest in their back, in their shoulder, in their, you know, whatever. And like, it's just so, I laugh about it because it's just like, ugh, of course, like, it's just ironic that it's in the voice. Like for some of us, it's in our voice, you know, and you feel your voice shake. I mean, I remember, you know, panic attacks are real. Never had one before until grad school. Like that was great. Like that, and it was before a show. And I remember we were doing Grand Hotel at NYU, and I remember I forgot one line in the last song that I sing. My character sings 3 songs in the show, and I just forgot. And then everyone was like, well, you know, it's good luck, you know, in the tradition, it's like, it's good luck to mess up the last day of tech, because then it's like, good luck, like, you're golden for the rest of the run. But then there are some people out there that are narcissistic and just, you know, egomaniacal, and they make it about them, and they love to use your vulnerability against you. And they go, oh, better not screw up for the rest of the show. Because they know that I'm an overthinker. They knew that I excused them from my table of life a long time ago. But like, I wish them well. I wish everybody well. But like, you know, there are people who could cause that for you. And so it's like, how do you deal with it? How do you,
right. Know, some of it could be as overt as that, and some of it is not.
Yeah. And it could feel traumatic for yourself because now and again, it's like, you know, I think every person that comes into your life, like whether it's a lifetime or for a season, I'm grateful for all of it because I took the lessons from all the good and all the bad, because what's the alternative? And I wouldn't be who I am without the bad, because now I'm sitting who I am right now in front of you, like talking to you right now. You know, as you always say in cyberspace, like it's just like... Sorry, had to. And you know, and so it all matters. And so for me, like back then, I couldn't see it. I was aware what he was doing, but he was the same guy that like the next night, opening night, I said, "Hey, I'm shaking. I can't shake this off. I need you to yell at me right now. Permission to yell. Be an asshole to me right now." And then he goes, "You are not Neda. You are Raphael," and like just like going on this whole thing, and it shook me. And I'm like, "Thank you." And I go on stage, and I remember this moment where I was like, "Oh my God, I'm about to sing the first song," and it's like this flight or fight moment where if I started singing, I'm getting technical now, but if I started singing where the tessitura, meaning like the range of the music was. If I started singing it in a mix, it wouldn't have happened. I would have started shaking. My voice would have shook. So then I switched to a chest register instead. And then I remember during intermission, because the way it was the show happened was everybody was on stage, except like I was one of the principals, so we can go on and off. But during intermission, everybody was like in my dressing room, and was like, "Neda." We're sitting there, we're like, oh my God, she's is she gonna make it? Like they were stunned because during rehearsal, I would always sing this piece in a mixed voice. And I just carried that and so it was just, they were like, holy shit. And I'm like, yeah, guys, that's what happens when like the body is freaking out and you gotta trust it and you just gotta go for it. Right. And it's like, and you add all that airflow up there and wow. you just trust. That's when you're having an out-of-body experience where it's like, here I am, here's my body, I'm going to watch it do its thing. I have no control. Like, I can't control it anymore. And then the next day, I was still shaking. I'm like, what the hell? I just overcame this. And I shook in class for 2 hours, and my teacher stayed after me. And this is how crucial, like, a good human being is my teacher was like, I'm coming tonight. If you need me, if you just have to see me, I will come downstairs and just wave at you. You are okay. You know, you will be okay. And that was all I needed. That was everything. And after that, I did the show, no anxiety, no panic attack, no nothing. But it was very interesting experiencing a panic attack for the first time and seeing what happens to the voice. Because I've had nerves for competitions. I've done that. It was just a whole different experience. It was a life-changing moment that I'm like, okay, so being a singer is complicated. There's the mental aspect. There's, and before the nerves were just excitement to get on stage. I hate waiting. I just want to be on stage and just do it, And it really, the mind truly matters. Like the mindset, like it's so crucial. I think it's like the top thing. And like my students, they're always like, wow, you're always so focused on that. And I've never had an experience where we focus on the mind so much. Cause I say one thing without them doing anything physically or even like any of the tools, just with their mind, something happens. And I'm like, we've barely started.
Right.
It was just your mind right now. And then the look on their face is just priceless and just what I live for. Like it gives me such joy. The mind, and to know that when somebody, and again, I wish every single person, like I have worked, I'm not somebody who likes to hold grudges. Like I really just want inner peace. And I've worked really hard to get to this point in my life. Every single person, whether they're out of my life, I do wish them well. I never want to wish anybody ill will. Is that the saying? Ill will? So I truly want everyone to live their best life. But when those experiences happen now, if they do, I really don't like allow it, or I step away. I don't entertain it. But it's so obvious now when it's about them. Like that whole thing is about them. It is so obvious now.
Lots of nervous people around.
Yeah.
When you're nervous, odds are there are a lot of nervous people around you dealing with their own nerves.
Yes, absolutely.
What is something that you would tell an actor to do daily to just get a jump on proper voice health that they are not doing?
Strophonation.
Wow.
Because it's so easy. All you're doing is blowing bubbles. Like it's just like to keep it so easy and basic, like.
So every day they should do that for how long?
5 minutes.
Unbelievable.
It's just, it really, what
blowing bubbles in a straw.
What I did today? You know what I did this morning to prep for this? I woke up, my voice was like down here, and I'm like, oh my God, no. And so it was freezing outside, super windy. I was like, I'm not going outside. I had a dance party in my room to get my body warm, get the heart pumping. I did some of my, my warm-ups. And I knew I was just going to be talking. But it took a minute to get to where I am right now, speaking wise. And I did strophonation. I literally put on songs that are upbeat so I can get that breath moving even faster through strophonation.
Wow.
Like actors use, I know they make playlists. Like people who are also very, musical or whatever, and they're also actors. Like, but even people who don't sing, I know they create playlists for their characters or for themselves or whatever. Take one song and just blow bubbles while you listen and sing with it through the straw in the water. Like it's so much fun.
Yeah.
And you get warm. It's like this magical tool. 5 minutes. What they also could do, is, drink a glass of water before waking up, because it takes time for it to absorb in the body. They can also steam in the shower, so you're getting internal and topical hydration.
Hydration. I'm learning from you today. Hydration is huge, and when you drink coffee, you are dehydrating, And everyone is drinking so much coffee because they don't sleep. And therefore, they're dehydrating themselves and not really doing anything about that to counteract that so much.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's awareness. Like, whenever I meet with somebody new, we go through their lifestyle. Because you can warm up all you want, or you can have one session with me all you want. Okay, what about the next day and the next day? It's really like, it's a lifestyle change, just like diet. No, it can't just be a moment of time. It can't be a blip,
Yeah.
There are so many actors who also sing, and like I hear things, I'm like, oh, there's a little bit of intonation here, a little, like, just there's fine tuning that could be had.
Yeah.
And posture is another thing. Like, if you're slumped down,
Yes.
you're cutting off your breath.
Right.
Or if you are like in a stressful state, like as a character or just as a human, like you're stacking air, and you want you want this to be still. You want your chest to be still, and you want to find your groundness. And there's like a lot of, again, bio, psycho, social, like it's, and the physio, like it's so important. Whole roundedness.
What was the most frustrating moment you had listening to Back to One? Listening to me talk to these wonderful people. Was there a moment where you said, what the hell is he doing with his voice right now? This is a terrible lot in life for you. You can't enjoy anything. All you're hearing is people's terrible voice choices and
here's the thing.
Treatment.
It's a blessing and a curse, because as a kid, whenever my teachers, or if I was in a competition, I would get feedback. I'm like, these guys are magical people, and I want to be able to do that for somebody, because it's like, it's magic. Like it's like being a, quote, a doctor. And I say that lightly. I don't mean that, I just start laughing because it's like, I know what he has to do. All he has to do is up the flow, or do like a pinch trill, or do like a little reverse snort. And then he's like right here. And so I just love this stuff. I love the voice. I find it just so miraculous that this little thing that's like the size of a walnut and the width of our thumbnail can do so much. Can yell, can cry, can scream in agony, can do voices, accents, dialects, can just do a plethora of things, and then can go away when our body is in distress. And it's just like, let's help it. And we're all sensitive. We're all vulnerable. Even the ones that say they're not. Fuck that. We all are. And just like a group hug, a group like so much empathy and love. Like, it's like, that's the whole point. And so like when, again, I went on a tangent again, but like when I listen to you, I'm like, oh, he's just giving the floor to the guest, But when they're excited, you like get on your air and you're back on it. So like,
Isn't
I
that
never.
Funny? Yes, it's interesting you said that, because when I feel like I'm using my voice properly, is when I'm on my bicycle yelling at cars, and they could hear me 3 blocks away. I see people turning 3 blocks away. Mm-hmm. It's coming from way down deep,
Your
pushing
center.
it out with my passion. And
It's
my
your center.
anger.
Yeah.
And it's really like booming out, and it's full.
Yeah.
And
Well, it's funny because I always tell people, where do you feel the most grounded? And then I'm always like, for me, it's like, if I'm singing recital style or audition style, I always say I'm in this half-ass fourth position. Like, and I'm right-handed, but for some reason, my left foot has to be out. I feel so imbalanced if it's my right foot. And it's always a half-ass fourth position. And I say, where's your center? It's kind of from your forehead, from your chest, from your pelvic area. For me, it's my pelvic area. But if you're in a musical, if you're in a show, if you're doing a scene, of course, you're not just going to be standing like that. It's just like you're finding your groundness. Like, that's why meditation is so important. Like, you find that alignment for yourself, and then you go do it. Mm-hmm. And it's funny for you, like, the bicycle thing's hilarious. Like, because you're using your air, you're projecting out. Yep. Like, sound energy is coming from the corners of your mouth. like is not coming from back or middle, is front. You have to make time for your vocal health. You just have to make time, and for your mental. Like, God, every time like I get in the morning, put on my meditation app. If I go on like, a social media, I'm like, nope, go to this app. Start with meditation. Do not get on social media. Like, you don't like. I have a very healthy relationship with it, but
there has to be that discipline.
There has to be that discipline, because then I also know the unhealthy side, and I don't ever want to be in that side of it. And when I feel it, I'm like, oh, nope, going for a walk.
Yeah.
You know, listening to my music. And then again, it's like, we're not perfect. We're all in like low frequency, high frequency, and like our gifts and our shadow, basically. And whenever you get into that low frequency, feel it. Feel like I don't suppress anything. I have to feel it. And crying is great. It's like a chemical reaction. It is emotional, but it's like you have to get it out of your system. You know, otherwise I feel like I can't be me for the person I'm hanging out with. So I have to like do the thing and then show up for them, or show up for me.
But isn't crying very bad for your voice?
Listen, yeah. No, I mean, look, like that. No, holding it in would cause more tension.
Ooh, see that? There's always, you could say that it's bad for your voice, but holding it in could be worse.
And another thing is like, okay, the way I laugh, like we all have different types of laugh, depending on the situation. People like I laugh how I've been laughing, like in this interview. I also laugh like really like in the throat, like just dying. And then I go into wheezing. Now you can't, and a lot of people do that. I've heard, you know, we hear people laugh all the time. And I always love it when I hear somebody who laughs and then starts wheezing. I'm like, I'm not alone in that weirdness. Like, I'm not alone. Great. Thank you. Yeah. And that's just being human. So again, it's literally the same thing of, if you're on set for more than 12 hours a day and that's out of your control, what can you do to help yourself? You're not going to fake cry healthy. You're not going to fake laugh healthy. Mm-hmm. You're going to be you and do you. Okay, so then drink water after you laugh. Mm-hmm. Or get 8 hours of sleep. You know, like that's when I'm like, because I feel like, again, I'm very a disciplined person, but also I'm learning to just like relax. And it's important to have space to relax. Like if I'm not doing anything, I get like, I should be doing something with my time. I'm becoming a lazy person. I get hard on myself. And I'm like, no. Doing nothing and just being is doing something for your emotional and mental health.
Wait, say that again, because it's that important. Can you say that exactly again? The exact thing you just said.
I hope so. Okay, so doing nothing and just being... Oh, God.
Is doing something.
Is doing something. Is doing something for your mental and emotional health.
There you go.
Thank you for my TED Talk. No,
I think very busy people need to realize when they think, I can't sit here and do nothing, when there's all of this to do.
Yeah, because like just
though, to sit there and do nothing, and it is something.
Yeah, especially when you can, you know, people who as artists again, who can write, who can sing, who can songwrite, who can direct, who can all the artistic things. Just because you can do so many things doesn't mean you have to be doing them all the time or one of them. But I understand it when I've heard that from people, because hence what I just said. Like I feel, and it comes from, I think those people, their lives have also been a discipline.
Yes.
From childhood. So now when you have this freedom to like make your own choices and design your own time, if there's a way for that, or time for that, that's when you're like, okay, you have to make time to just chill too. Because then you don't want to look back and be like, I never relaxed. Mm-hmm. Again, it's a balance. Balance.
Neda Lahidji, people are going to want to get in touch with you. They're going to want to learn more about what you're talking about here. They're going to want to sit down one-on-one with you. How do they do that?
I'm on Instagram. So at Neda Lahidji. I feel like I'm going to spell it out, right?
We'll put that in the show notes too.
Okay, so it's NEDALAHIDJI. My business Instagram, I mean, contact me either way, but it's NL_vocal_studio. Yeah, message me there, or you can email me at neda@nedalahidji.com.
And where in the world are you located? And does that even matter anymore? Could a lot of this be done like we're doing this right now in, wait for it, cyberspace?
Oh, God, I love it. It's the little things, man. It's the little things. I just give me so much joy right now. Well, I'm in LA, but also, yes, it doesn't matter because I can go on tour with somebody or be on set or like whatever is needed.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Back to One is a production of Filmmaker Magazine, which is a publication of The Gotham, formerly IFP. Listen to back episodes of this podcast at filmmakermagazine.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Now we're going to deal with the pressure of the water. So now dip the straw in more. Go fast. Right, I can say go fast. So now go a little bit slower.
Wow, that was interesting. That was interesting.
Now do.
That's actually, it's actually, I could feel oxygen in my head. Oh my God. What the hell? That actually gave me more oxygen. I'm feeling tingling through my body.
Your voice is brighter, by the way.
Whoa. This works.